Zach Edey has the chance to be one of the most intriguing X factors and rookies overall this coming season, because I think we're in an era of the NBA where we expect centers to be insanely versatile, right? We want them to space the floor, we want them to play make, we want them to dribble, we want them to be able to guard all 5 positions, switch out onto the perimeter. We want them to do all that stuff. And then you look at Zach Edey, and it feels like a lot of people are sort of turned off by everything he is. Like, he's very much a throwback big, large, hulking 7'4", 300+ pounds, who doesn't really shoot threes, isn't so quick-footed on the perimeter, and so can't really handle the ball as well. And so there's this feeling of he's just not, he just doesn't fit. He doesn't fit in the modern NBA. Similar to, I think, how a lot of people felt about Jahlil Okafor when he was drafted way back when by Philly. Like, super talented, really good player in a vacuum, just doesn't really fit this modern NBA. And I definitely understand that logic because, as I said, we are in a very versatile NBA, and you definitely want guys to be able to do multiple things. You don't want guys to be able to be played off the court for certain weaknesses. But then it's funny because you see performances like Edey had in the preseason, where he had 23 points and 9 rebounds in 19 minutes to beat Indy. He had 15 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 blocks in a win over Chicago. And yes, I know it's preseason, and preseason obviously should come with a ton of disclaimers because it's not the real thing. But I see those performances, and I just start to think to myself, are we overthinking the Zach Edey stuff? Yes, he doesn't shoot the 3, but he's still boil basketball down to its very basic elements, and one of the biggest strengths you can have as a basketball player is being bigger than your opponent, being taller, stronger, and Zach Edey has that advantage. And I think the thing that's really beautiful about Edey is that he's not, I think there was a time in the NBA where big men would be drafted solely because they're big men. It was oh, well, you can't teach 7 feet, so let's draft this guy and hopefully we can develop him. But you saw so many guys flame out that way because they just didn't have any actual talent, or they didn't have any actual drive. They were just tall. But I don't think that's the case with Zach Edey. He has a really nice touch around the rim. He can even hit free throws a little bit. You saw him just absolutely bully Miles Turner last night. He's coming off one of the best college seasons ever, where he put up 25 and 12 and got his team to, the national championship. So clearly this guy is very skilled, and I think having that advantage, again, he might not be able to space the court and do all that other stuff, but having a guy who's just naturally bigger than literally every other big man, and the kind of advantage you could have in terms of posting him up, or in terms of, protection on the glass or protecting the rim, that's going to be a big plus for the Grizzlies, and I think it's going to be so special. Obviously, they do have to try and find ways to work around, his deficiencies in terms of adapting to the modern NBA where he can't shoot, not the best perimeter defender, whatever. But I think that's what makes his fit on the Grizzlies so perfect, is because if the Grizzlies want to, they can go for that smaller, more versatile lineup and put Jaren Jackson Jr. at the 5. I think that's in a way, Edey is the perfect fit for Memphis, because I think, I could definitely see a scenario where their closing lineup, sort of like what the Warriors did with their death lineup, where it's Bogut's going to start and he's going to play 20-25 minutes. He's going to be super valuable. But at the end of the day, it's going to be Draymond at center. And I think you could see the Grizzlies doing a similar thing, where it's we're going to want Edey's size because of all the benefits it gives us. But come down to it, we want to have Jaren Jackson Jr. and the spacing and the switchability on defense while still being able to protect the rim. So I think it sort of gives them the best of both worlds. And so I'm very excited to see how Edey can find his place, what his place looks like. I don't know if that means he's going to eventually blossom into an all-star, but again, that's the beauty of him landing on the Grizzlies. They don't necessarily need him to be one of the franchise pillars. They just need him to come in and basically just do what he does at a really high level. And I think they're going to find ways to work around the stuff he brings and the stuff he doesn't. And I think it has a chance to really, very rarely do we see contending teams land a top 10 pick. Obviously, we know why the Grizzlies had that, because they were in a very unique situation last year with Ja missing so much time and some other injuries. So for them to have this unique opportunity where they were able to draft a guy top 10 who just has this insane advantage over everyone he goes against, that could pay real dividends for the Grizzlies, even if it's not, it doesn't come in the ways of the traditional modern NBA.